Hello, guys. I'm going to talk to you guys about privacy in Bitcoin and silent payments. Um, I will tell you what privacy is in Bitcoin. Try to explain why we care about privacy. Um, then I'll talk about silent payments and like why it works, like to help improve privacy. In the context of Bitcoin, when we say privacy, we're referring to the ability to conduct transactions without third parties being aware of the identities of the people involved in the transactions. So um, for this talk, we're like focused on the senders and receivers hiding themselves from non-participants of that transaction. We're not focused on the senders and receivers hiding information from themselves. So that's a different kind of privacy where like, they don't know each other. But here they know each other, but they don't want other people to know who they are. So why do we care about this? Well, first of all, it's a basic human right. You should be able to send money to anyone without like everybody knowing. Um, then another really important reason is that we can't have censorship resistance without privacy. Um, when we say censorship resistance in Bitcoin, we are referring to the ability of the network to resist like any authority or like entity trying to prevent people from conducting transactions. Say, for example, let's say Coinbase wanted to stop accepting bitcoins from Nigerians. Uh, if they could identify your addresses on the blockchain, if they could tell who was a Nigerian, if maybe they did some analysis or they've linked it to your IP address, then they can like add your addresses and your wallet addresses to a blacklist, and that might force people to start rejecting transactions from your addresses because they don't want to have a tainted UTXO. They don't want their own transactions to be rejected by Coinbase, for example. But like, that's just an example. It could be the government who doesn't want you to use Bitcoin. So generally, if people don't know who you are, if they don't know where you're from, where you're like transacting on the Bitcoin, it's hard to censor you. So privacy is a very complex topic. There are like many layers. Every time you try to use the Bitcoin network, you go through several layers. I've only highlighted 3 layers here. At the application layer, we're just talking about how you use your wallet software, how you like interact with the blockchain network. At this layer, you could make some mistakes that leak your addresses, or maybe you reuse your addresses, making it easier for people that analyze the network to find out what other addresses you have. At the network layer, we like care about like our IP addresses. We don't want like our IP address to be linked to like transactions or some addresses. Your IP address can give away your location. In some countries, it can even give away where your house is. Like we don't want all of that. We want to be like really, really, we want to be able to conduct transactions and like nobody knows where you did it from. And the blockchain layer is fully transparent. So all of your data is always open on the blockchain. Just there are some tools that they can use to analyze the blockchain and like try to cluster certain addresses to figure out which wallets you're from. If you have like a public address, then they can like find out all of your addresses tied to your wallet. So I'm going to focus on the application layer, and that's because this is where silent payment helps you. So silent payments is not like the solution to all privacy issues. Like at the network layer, for example, you could use Tor networks to try and hide where a transaction is coming from. Yeah, but at the application layer, silent payment is something that can work. So when you try to receive, let's say you're trying to receive some coins from someone, you usually have to send out a Bitcoin address. Yeah. And the addresses that you are used to, I call them on-chain addresses in this talk, but there's a technical name for them. They actually, they're not really addresses. They translate to like scripts that like are visible on the blockchain. So I just call them on-chain addresses here. I'm trying to communicate that these addresses can be seen on the chain anytime you use them. So if you try to receive some funds and you send out an address and like the address is maybe intercepted, maybe you sent out a text and it's intercepted, so your address is leaked, or maybe you even have a public address to receive donations. Interested, maybe, I don't know, it could be any entity that is like trying to like censor you and like figure out where addresses are, which address belongs to which person. They can just go watch your transaction. They can just go watch the blockchain, and they can see all of the transactions that, all of the payments that go to that address. And then so this is the thing that people don't even realize. Every time that you send money to someone, if that address is being watched, then they also saw your own address too in that transaction. So if I sent money to Duncan and if I send my address to Duncan and that address is leaked, once Duncan like fulfills the transaction, once he sends money to me, the person who intercepted that message can tell that these addresses belong to Duncan because he sent to my address, and they already know my address, and they can just from analysis figure out what other addresses belong to our wallets. So yeah, like if you're also like receiving donations too, your donors are like at risk. Every time they send to your donation address, like their own wallet addresses have been, exposed. Yeah, so this is where like silent payment helps you. So what the silent payment BIP introduced is a way to generate unique on-chain addresses for like each transaction. So silent payment provides you a new type of address. It doesn't appear on the chain. It's not an on-chain address. Instead, using like the protocol, the instructions specified in the BIP, wallet software can generate unique on-chain addresses for every transaction. They use information from the transaction and information from the silent payment address. So now I can receive donations publicly, and if any of you here sends money to the silent payment address, nobody knows because they can't see the silent payment address on the blockchain. So they can't recognize the transactions that are sending to that address. So you are all like safe. Your privacy is not like compromised in any way, unless I like start leaking information myself. Yeah. So yeah, you can also reuse your address as much as you want. Remember I said that unique addresses are being generated for every transaction. So no matter how many times you use the silent payment address, there is no like compromise. You don't lose privacy. So if you are wondering what a silent payment address looks like, the top address is like a traditional on-chain address that you are used to. Underneath we have a silent payment address. It's very long, like couldn't really fit into the slide. Well, like it's much longer than the address you are used to, and it starts with SP1Q, which just indicates that it's a version 0 silent payment address, but you don't need to worry about that. Just look at the SP and you see how long it is, you know the silent payment address. Yeah, also, obviously don't like try to pay to any of these addresses. So silent payment helps you, allows you to reuse addresses, right? But it generates unique addresses for every transaction. If I shared, in the case where you're accepting donations, you might not care to know where all these payments are coming from. But if I have an employer and I'm giving them like my silent payment address, and like I'm giving my silent payment address to like other people, I want to know which one was from my employer, like which one is my paycheck, and like which one is from Kelvin, for example. So you could technically create different silent payment addresses. It would work, but that silent payment addresses if you create multiple, it makes scanning like really expensive. Scanning is already expensive enough for like one silent payment address. If you have multiple, it just like, doubles the expense, what your wallet software have to do. So instead, we have something called labels. And they basically allow you to create variations of your existing silent payment address. And the scanning cost is way lower than like creating a new silent payment address for that purpose. So you really only ever need one, and you just create variations of it using the silent payment labels functionality. Yeah. So now I can tell where payments are coming from. Yeah. So as a summary, privacy in Bitcoin is complex, and it can be affected at any layer of the Bitcoin network. Anytime you try to use it, like your privacy can be compromised. When we share or reuse traditional on-chain addresses, we expose ourselves, and we also expose the senders. Remember, it's not just yourself. Anybody that sends money to you has also exposed his address too. Silent payment addresses are not on-chain addresses. They are safe to share and like reuse without like compromising privacy. And then finally, you have labeled silent payment addresses that allow you to identify payments by category sender, whatever you want. So I didn't go into too much technical details in this presentation. Like, I wanted to keep it like really simple. But if you want to get into the details, you can like meet with me outside, and we can like talk about the BIP and like how it works. If you want to get in touch, just scan the QR code. It has my email and Twitter, and I don't know what other links. But yeah, you can just scan this. I think I can. Yeah, thank you. That's it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Please a round of applause for him as he goes. Thank you so much again.
Calling me the sugar, they your tea. Calling me the honey.